So that's great. I'm glad we have a lot of first-time people on here. And welcome back to everybody who has attended this training before. We do have a little bit of changes. Some, if you were new, completely new, but some if you we had a couple changes last year with the RFP that we'll still talk about today, because most of you only do the RFP once every 5 years. So we did have a couple things that we added to the RFP I want you to make you be aware of today. And then I'm going to ask one more question while we're kind of still, it kind of changed. Here we go. This is another one. Again, this just gives me a really good idea of who we have on today, who maybe do some clarification, because it does really depend on who we have on. We also have on quite a few state employees today. So like Jennifer Weber's on here, Becky Gray, Karen Davis. There's lots of people on here. Hang on, I'm getting a message to remind. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, if anybody, which I'm sure if you can't get on here, or if you know anybody that is trying to get on, have them email or text Sherry, or email Sherry, she can get you on. So again, we're all kind of remote working, so if you try calling the office, unfortunately you may get somebody and you may not. So yesterday Sherry sent out the slides, and then we also sent out the link. It's for this guidance book. This is anything that we talk about to be for USDA, the School Food Authority. We also sent a copy of the attachment M, which we're going to go through. It's the blank copy. And we also sent out the transition form. I will also go over. But also we have on here Jennifer Weber, Karen Davis. I saw Nikki. So pretty much the entire school team is on here, Rhonda Stevenson, and some consultants. So if you ever have any questions, please put it in the chat. Or if anybody who is on here with OSDE, please feel free to state, interrupt, do whatever that you see that we need to talk about. Make sure to bring that up. I have no problem with you interrupting. I think most people can, on our team, can unmute themselves. So okay, let's see here with the poll question. So it's really good. We have a lot of district employees on today, which we really like to see, because this really is geared for the district, because you're the one that does fill out the RFP. We go through the entire process, all the way from getting the RFP to filling it out to what you do afterwards. Also, we have a couple people that's on here considering. Usually every year we do have a couple that are thinking about going. And this is a really, really good training to come to give you more information about if you think it's something that your school should do, or if it's not, and some things to look at. And then how long? We have a good so we have a big range of how long people have been using food service management. So again, thank you guys so much for taking the quiz, or taking that poll, I should say. It's not really a quiz. And then this will be on after. If you can't stay for the whole thing, we will send the link out to the video. We'll send it out. Whenever we get the video, we'll send it out with your certificate. If you don't get a certificate, or because maybe you have to get off because of whether you have to leave, this will be on OSDE Connect, so that way you can finish it up and still receive credit for taking the class. So this will be available. Just give us until next week. OSDE Connect just takes us a little bit longer to put things up, again, because we are having to deal with other people in the agency. And you all know that we've had the transition from state superintendent. So it's just, we're trying to figure out where we go for what now, because we go through certain people, and then some people are still there, some people are gone, and we're just trying to figure out what we do. So please give us some grace at the State Department, because we're just trying to figure out, just like you guys are, of where we have to do our processes through. So in the slides, if you do want the slides that are just one per page, these are always going to be up in the resource, in other documents. They're going to be under training information. So if you didn't print the ones out that we gave you, those are just the small tiny notes pages. The ones that we have in there are the one per page. So you can always go out at any time and go print those out. We will leave those up for the remainder of the year. These are acronyms. So we use a lot of acronyms in child nutrition. So if you are brand new to child nutrition, I apologize. But this hopefully will give you a little bit more understanding of what we're talking about. The biggest ones today is FSMC, which is Food Service Management Company, and RFP, which is the request for proposal. So that's the form that you have to fill out, that you have to go out and bid on in order to use a food service management company. So If you have any questions, again, throughout, please do not hesitate to put it in the chat, and we will get back to you. And if like Becky and Karen or anybody else who's on, if you don't mind helping answer questions, that would be fantastic. I am used to doing these a lot by myself, so sometimes I just kind of jump in when I'll see some questions and answer. But Becky, as you all know, she did that role for a few years, and now Karen Davis is in the role. So I really would like them to answer, because that is their position, is with the Food Service Management Company. And as we talked about, again, this is the book that we're going to go to. Keep that link. So this presentation, the slides, we always keep the slides in the other documents under training, slides, and handouts. So all trainings that we have, that's where you can go find the slides. So they will be out there. We will not have the recording up. The recording will be in OSDE Connect. That way people can get credit for it. You will not find it in other documents. So unless you attended today, we will send you a copy of, so you can go back and reference it as well. Okay, so let's get started. So there is a complete glossary of terms in the contract with the Food Service Management Company, this guidance. It's on page 5 through 9. So again, a lot of the things that we're going to reference are this book right here. You can find it in CARS. Again, we also sent you the link to it, so you can always reference this. So if you have a lot of questions, again, this is what we go by. As you can see, mine is flagged, and it's still yellow. So this came out, I believe, in 2016 is the last date of this one. And it is still all yellow. This is just the latest one that we have, but all the yellow stuff in here was new as of 2016. So we are aware of the date. This is the newest one that we have, the one that we have listed. So we're going to evaluate reasons for contracting with the Food Service Management Company. We need both, especially for the school district, to understand the responsibilities, what the responsibilities are for the school, and what the responsibilities are for the Food Service Management Company. Because a lot of times, and we're going to stress, a lot of schools think, well, I'm just going to go with the Food Service Management Company, and that will just wipe my hands from child nutrition. It's actually the complete opposite. You're supposed to be more involved with child nutrition when you use a Food Service Management Company. It's going to be a general understanding of the whole procurement process. We will be having a procurement training February 2nd. If you do need more help with just the procurement process in general. So that will be, you can find all that information in other documents. And then now where to go to find further information if you need assistance. So since we have a mix on here of people that are, we have a lot of district employees on here, but a lot of times people feel that you might know somebody with a Food Service Management Company, or you are currently with the Food Service Management Company. But if you have questions about the Food Service Management Company, if you have questions about the RFP, you need to contact the state agency. We are the contact for, we're the ones that give you the information. So please contact us. Do not reach out to, especially if you're filling out the RFP, we can explain what some of that stuff is. Or if you just have questions about anything regarding Food Service Management Company, the contract, or anything, please contact us at the state agency, or your program specialist. This is what we do. We know the contract. We know the rules and regulations, not saying that they don't, but we are the person that you are supposed to be contacting. We have a contract with you. You have a contract with us to receive federal funds. So everything that we're giving you, all the information is because we're the point of contact. I know you have an agreement with them, but you do get your reimbursement from us, and you have to follow our guidelines, because we do procurement reviews, and more often than not that we have seen, some people have to go out on rebid for certain reasons. So make sure you're contacting us, so that way we're giving you the correct information. Again, as I mentioned before, we'll stress this over and over and over. If you're contracting with the Food Service Management Company, it does not release the district from any responsibilities from child nutrition. It actually, you have more to do than what you did previously. When procuring services, again, you have to ensure free and open competition. You have to make sure, we will tell you when you're filling out the application, you have to send it out to 3 people. And then you also have to have an advertisement. And we walk you through that process. That's again, what we do is we will walk you through the entire process. If a Food Service Management Company is going to submit a proposal, they cannot have any part in writing the solicitation. So that's what I meant. If you have questions with the RFP, they cannot be helping you fill out the RFP. You need to be contacting us, and we can answer any of those questions, because the reason for the RFP, it is a set document. You have to use ours. You don't have a choice in the matter. But we're actually going to do a walkthrough of the RFP, so we can describe what every section does and what it means. So that way you're filling out what's best for the school district. Okay, so the SFA should analyze to make sure the operations, we see this a lot too when we're doing reviews. Even though you may have been with the food service company for a while, you need to make sure that they're meeting your needs, and you need to just check your finances, check your invoices. There's a lot of things that you need to check because a food service management company is not for every district. You have to analyze your school to figure out if it is the best thing for your school to do. And again, your program specialist, I can't say it enough, contact them as well. They are in your district and they can give you some really good, so it's been a couple of years ago, it's been a few years ago, I talked to a district and they thought about going food service management company, and they went to different schools that use different management companies. And actually when they looked at what they did, they went back to their school and just kind of had a new plan. The school decided that they could do what they needed to do by what they looked at for their schools. So I'm telling you, food service management is great for some schools, but it's not great for others. So you really do need to look at your program to see if it's best advantageous for your district. Now, where do you start? So we will be discussing, again, what you have to do, what you need to do to contact we're going to give you all the information that we can. Again, when we talk about an SFA, mostly in here, we say SFA, we're talking about the school. So your district. So SFA is School Food Authority, or the LEA is the Local Educational Authority. So when you see those terms, we're referring to the district. Now, we really do mean this book. You really should get a copy of this book, especially when you're filling out the RFP. It's just a lot of really good guidance in there. But again, we are here at the state agency to help you out because we do have copies that, as you can see, mine are flagged. We have gone through this book quite a bit. So please contact us with questions and we will be able to help you out. But this really is a good place to start, especially with the RFP or just using a food service management company. So what you need to really put a team together. And the team is actually going to follow throughout the contract. But when you start with the team, it should analyze your current child nutrition programs. You should conduct a competitive procurement via the RFP that you will get from our office. You also need this team if you negotiate the final contract. You also have to have people to monitor the food service management company contract, control and monitor all aspects of child nutrition to ensure compliance with our regulations, and ensure that the food service management company charges are correct and that all costs are allowable. Also, it doesn't really state in here too, but during the procurement review, and it's just stated in the contract, is you do have to have this team or have a team. They have to meet at least once or twice a year, and you're supposed to look at menus because the school, you guys can change the menus. You guys are really in charge of everything, but you guys are supposed to meet and make sure that everything is going to plan. I think they call it the advisory board. It's called, you have to have the advisory board. So this team is very important. The team also, when you do get the RFP back, they're the one that scores it to figure out which food service management company that you're going to go with. So when you analyze the current, your operations, you need to identify the current cost of the operations in relation to the number of reimbursable meals. It's like the average daily participation by building, all food costs, labor, supplies, equipment, and the use of your USDA foods. You analyze non-fiscal aspects as well, like your wellness policy, your nutrition lessons, farm to school, smart snack, professional development. Those are other things that you do want to look at. Determine the benefits and the consequences of using a food service management company. So again, it's really important to look at what your school or your sites are doing now. And I know it's been so crazy. We've had a lot of thus far. So the RFP is out. It is available. You can contact Karen Davis, email her, and she will send you a copy of the RFP. But the current RFP is available. But Becky and I were talking about this yesterday. It's just been really hard because you had COVID. And when you're analyzing some stuff, it's just been hard because we were having you look at numbers for 2018, 2019, but then we're also having you look at SSO numbers, but none of that is really what's currently going on. So I know it's really hard, but especially when you've been coming out of COVID and you're not, and it's different. I mean, the economy is way different than it was before COVID even happened. So we understand it's kind of hard, but really analyze this year of what you're seeing. We really do think that this year, which we'll talk about the RFP and I'll talk more about that. But we really think to look at your numbers this year when you're analyzing to see what would be best for you going forward with a food service management company or not. So again, determine whether contracting with the food service management company is best for your program. If it's not, that's okay. Even if you've requested the RFP, we have had some schools that go all the way through the RFP process, but just don't award the bid. You can do that as well. You can really go through the whole process, and the process is not quick. And we have some people that have sent us the RFP or requested the RFP and it's like, we need you to get this done quickly. It's like a 2 or 3 month process. So just make sure that if you do want to look into it using a food service management company, it's not a quick process to go through. Again, we walk you through that, but if you can go all the way through the process and you don't have to award it if you don't want. Also, we tell people all the time that it is a 1-year contract with up to 4 renewals. You can actually terminate in the middle of the contract. I'm talking like today, you could be like, you know what, this is not working. And then in your contract, it says how many days that you have to terminate. Or we have a lot of people that at the end of the year, they go out on rebid, or they're just like, you know, this isn't working for us, so I think we want to go back. And you can stop it at that point. We just tell us that whatever you decide, please let us know. We keep track. If you're on food service management company, if you're not, if you received an RFP, we try to look at that process. And again, if you are interested and you want to go through it, just make sure that you contact our office. Now, once all the steps are completed and the district makes the decision to contract or partially, what you can do when you do a food service management company contract, you can choose to do everything. You can do labor, you can do plate, it can be everything. You can also just do it for management. Some people, you can do it for labor and food cost and plate per plate. For everything. You can also do it just per plate, but the district can still keep the labor, or we have some that we have very few, but you can actually just do it with management. And what that means is they kind of do your menus for you, but really the school buys the food still. The school still does a lot of stuff. It's just the food service management company does, they call it a management, but it's like doing the menus. And I think they'll help with like professional development. So there's different ways that you can do the RFP. So if you are interested, again, you contact Karen Davis. She is the person that you get the RFP from. So again, if you're interested, contact Karen. Now, you can only get the RFP from Karen. You cannot get it from anybody else. Like if someone says, hey, I have a copy of the RFP, like another district or a food service management company, you have to get it from us. We don't know that it's been changed. We don't know if it's the current one. So if you or anybody else wants a copy of the RFP that you have to fill out, it has to come from Karen. And we keep track of who we give it to. So if you send us one and we notice you're not on our list, we'll resend it out and you'll have to fill it out, the one that we send you out. So just make sure that the one that you get is from our office. So once you get the RFP, what do? So this is a prototype. You are required to use ours. You do not have a choice in the matter. I'm sorry, but I will tell you, it's big. If you haven't done it before, it's about 80 pages. And this does definitely be you having to write it and send it out. So we do have the prototype. You have to use it. And we have all of the exhibits. Everything you need is in there. Again, we're going to do an RFP walkthrough. So if you do have it now, or if you're about to ask for one, we're going to do this in February. At the beginning of February. So that way we can walk through the whole process and help you fill it out. We'll go over what things mean to make it just a little bit easier. Changes, nobody can make any changes to the RFP. You can't delete anything, you can't remove anything, nothing can be changed from any of the wording at all. Now, the district can have more things that you would like to add to it. But if you do that, you have to create an addendum and send that to our office for us to approve. Any agreement between the SFA and the food service management company shall be subject to our review. Now, when I met with, so I know you have a lot of leniency when you're working with a vendor. So like you're using US Foods, Benny Keith, but when you are using a food service management company, the State Department has to know everything. If you want to make changes, if you want to add a program, anything that you want to do that is different from when you submitted that that contract with us, we have to know about it and we have to approve it. So just to let you know, like it is we were seeing it quite a bit. I think we still kind of see it some, is you'll be doing something and our state agency was never notified. And if we're not notified, it could cost you to go out for rebid or for repayment. So just again, when you're doing a food service management company contract, if you're doing something different than that original RFP, maybe you added a program, there are certain things that you're doing that's different. If we don't have an addendum or if we don't know what's going on, then it is not allowable. So we have to know everything that's going on. Everything has to be approved by our office. The contract that we do have is a fixed price. That's the only thing that we allow in Oklahoma, which is great because it really does simplify things a lot. It makes the billing a lot easier. It's a set meal price. All other food sold is charged. We call it a meal equivalency. Credit for USDA foods. So when you get your commodities or USDA foods, you are to get credited at the end of every month. We used to do a pre-crediting, but that is no longer allowed. So every time you get your commodities that month, at the end of the month, they have to credit you on your invoice. And it does make it a much predictable cost. You are only allowed to be charged the price per meal rate, or the meal equivalency rate. You are not allowed to be directly billed for anything. So, so if someone's like, hey, I'm going to charge you $1,000 a month for labor, you cannot do that. Everything has to be a price per meal. And again, everything has to be sent to our office for approval before anything happens. So the fixed price contracts, again, it's based on a unit charge per meal. And then it projects the cost of operating the program. It includes direct cost of operations, the administrative fee, and the management fee. And then the price per meal cannot change throughout the contract. We had some that we heard that they're like, hey, they're trying to charge us more because of COVID. They're upping the price in the middle of the year. You cannot do that. Once you go out for bid and get the contract, that is the price until the renewal. And then at renewal time, which we have to have the renewal by June 1st, that price is the only price that can use for the entire year. No one can change prices throughout the year. Just be like, oh, well, it's inflation, so we're gonna increase your price in mid-year. That is not allowed. So if you have any questions for us at any point in time, contact us. We are here to answer any of these questions because we will let you know what can and cannot happen. And a lot of times I think people, they just don't reach out to us. And then when we come out, or if we're doing a review, then we end up finding some of these issues. But we would much rather you contact us first and let us go over some of this stuff with you than having to have payback or rebid, because it's not a fun process. And we know that. So again, just reach out to our office and we will answer these questions for you. We always want what's best for your school. So what do you want the food service management company to do for you? What programs to administer? We will tell you in the RFP, it lists all programs. We suggest that you mark all the programs in that RFP. It doesn't mean that you have to be doing them. It's just in case you might want to do them. And just because it's listed in the RFP that the food service management could do it, you don't have to let them do it. So an example of that is maybe they service breakfast and lunch, but you want to start the after school snack program, but you want to do it yourself at the district level. You can do that. Just because it's in the RFP that they can do it doesn't mean they have to do it. You can do it yourself. We have a lot of people that do the fresh fruit and vegetable program that they use a food service management company, and the school would rather just do the fresh fruit and vegetable program on their own, and you can definitely do that. What do you envision the program would look like with the food service management company? Are there services, equipment, menu choices, nutrition education classes, local foods, chefs, taste tests? What do you want? This is your RFP. This is what you want for your program. So whatever you want for your program, you can ask for that. That there's a reason that you're using that. So again, if you don't find something in the RFP and something that you want, like taste test or visiting chefs, if that's not in the RFP, then you can do an addendum and say, hey, we want a chef to come every semester, or however you want that to look. What aspects of your current program do you want to keep, and what aspects do you want to change? So, and we understand like food costs is sometimes maybe you want your participation to be higher. So really think about why that you want to use a food service management company. So now after you've completed the whole RFP process, What information do you have to give to the food service management company? So they have to know, and this is in the RFP, the number of sites, the ages that you serve, your enrollment, and your average daily participation. They do also need to know when you serve your meals, what programs are you currently participating in, and then what programs could you maybe be participating in, and then your meal prices for students and adults, and your a la carte prices. What is more information that they might need is they need to know your preparation facilities, or do you do a satellite? Are you central kitchen? Does each site have their own facilities? They need to know the school calendar. When do you serve? Historical information about your program. The last 3 years is always really nice. How responsibilities will be divided between the food service management company and the school. You can choose there again in the RFP, it lets you dictate what the school will be doing versus the food service management company. And then how even are the costs divided? So even more information. So you have to get that. That's why this RFP is quite large, is because of all the information that you do need to give them. Your USDA foods entitlement and your usage, your current personnel, salaries and benefits, the local wellness policy, because they have to ensure that they're following your wellness policy and your PLE, your paid lunch, your charge policy. They have to also, whatever your school is doing, they have to follow those rules. The school also, policies that affect your child nutrition programs, like weather days, emergency procedures, your bargaining unit contracts, and any information that allows the food service management company to create a proposal that fits your school and the services that you envision. So really, the more information that you give them, they can give you a better price that way. And that's another thing of why we won't allow the process to go very quickly. I mean, we make it go as fast as we can without losing. If this process, like when we have people say we want to get this done in a month, the reason you can't really do that because also you need time for these food service management companies, because they're getting bombarded right now with RFPs, and you want them to have time to look at it and to complete it so they can give you the best price. Because if they're just being rushed the process, they're just going to maybe throw a price out there and it may be much higher than what you want. So you really need to give people time to get the RFP, take a look at it, and make sure that they are giving your district the best price. Because if you try to rush that process, they're just going to throw a number out there because they didn't have time to look at everything, and they don't want to lose money. So it's probably might be a higher price than what they really could have done. So just again about the RFP, and this is, I'm talking about the whole 5 years, not just when you're filling it out, but through the whole 5-year process. If you're, again, it's a 1-year contract with up to 4 renewals. So it is not allowable at all to make changes to the RFP. Again, you can add to it, but you just can't make changes to it. We've seen some that they're like, we're going to delete line 4 and change it to, you cannot remove any items from the RFP. You cannot strike through anything in the RFP. You can't delete anything. The RFP is set. You cannot change any of the wording. You can't do that. Again, you can add to it, but you cannot remove, delete any wording at all from the RFP. Now, if you do want to add to it, you create an addendum, and it's just like on letterhead of what you want to add to it. And then our office will approve that. And we're going to have some different standards that are not standards, but different procedures that we kind of had in the past, because with the way the amendments have come in, or the addendums, it hasn't been a good when they come in. So we're kind of starting a new process, which will make it easier for us and much easier for you. Now, when you fill out the RFP, in there, you have to have a 21-day cycle menu for breakfast and for lunch. Now, this menu, it is required by USDA that the first 21 days, when a food service management comes in, or even if you're going through the bid process again, whatever your menu is, the food service management company is required to follow that 21-day menu. So whatever you put on there, they have to do it for 21 days. So again, when you're looking at your menus, make sure that you have what you want them to serve for the first 21 days. Then after that, the menu may be changed, but it is up to the district. The district is in charge of menus. So, and I would highly suggest, because I've heard this complaint before, they'll be like, well, our kids are not really eating X, Y, and Z. Like our kids don't like it here at the district. I'm like, well, have you told them to change the menu and take those things off the menu? And they're like, no. I'm like, that you have that is what the school gets to do. The school is in charge of the contract. So if there's things on there that your kids will not eat, or it's just there's other things that they prefer, let them know. That's one thing that the advisory board does. They look at the menus, they see what, or even anything with the food service management company, they see the areas that need to be changed. And your advisory board can be your school, your students, your people on your board that approve the food service management company, some teachers. It can be an array of people that can be on there. Now, before the RFP can go out for bid, so you fill out the RFP, and again, it's going to take you a little bit to fill it out because it is an 80-page document. We do give instructions, and we go line item. We'll tell you what page, what item number, and how to kind of fill it out. So we do give you that information. So after you fill that out, and you have your 21-day cycle menu in there, that you have to send it to our office that we approve it, and then we tell you when you can go out for bid. And then when you come and get that back, when you send that back to us after you're like, okay, we're going to go with this company. When you state that, then we tell you, okay, we approve it, and then your board can sign it. But with any of these processes, you have to give our office a minimum of 3 weeks to look at stuff. And I say that because in our office, we have certain procedures that we have to follow as well. And we have things like weather or sickness or things come up. So we get to them as much as possible. And not just that, but we've had a lot of RFPs go out so far in week 1 of having the RFP out. So we could have gotten 30 RFPs in one day. So it takes time because they go through the RFP, the 80-page document, they go through it page by page. To make sure everything is in there. So it does take, it's a process. So again, just you must give us time to do this. So when you first fill it out, you have to send it to us. We have to look at it. And then we tell you that you can go out for bid. And then when you go out for bid, again, we do tell you, we give you the entire process. And one of those things is you have to advertise it in the paper. It's a requirement for doing formal procurement, which we do require because it is an RFP. And then issue the RFP to all the food service management companies who either request it or send it out to at least 3. And we have a list of food service management companies in our training manual. Again, so when it comes to the process, and we're talking from the time that you send it out. So from the time, like you have it in the advertisement, by the time we say, yes, you can go out for bid, USDA really wants 60 days from the time that you send it out for bid until the time you get your request back from food service management companies. Now, I will say we have been we've talked to food service management companies, and we have been a little bit more lenient, or we will allow a minimum of 30 days. So again, you have to fill it out. So it's going to take days to fill it out. You have to send it to us. It's going to take maybe 3 weeks for us to look at it and say, yes, this is good, or no, we need more information. And we try to be as punctual as possible, but just letting you know that it's the process is not quick. We do the best that we can. And then once we say, yes, you can go out for bid, then you really should be giving them 60 days to get it back to you, but we will allow a minimum of 30. So again, you have to put an advertisement in the paper. This is just an example of one. We will help you send an example of one. You do need to tell like when it has to be back, where it has to be, like the date and the time of the bid opening, or when you need the RFP back, and all that fun stuff. So the advertisement that you have, it just needs to be in a newspaper. So it doesn't have to, like I had somebody that they asked the question a while back. They were from a very small remote town, like I'm just gonna say in Eastern Oklahoma. And they're like, we're gonna put it in the Daily Oklahoman. And I'm like, you don't have to put in the Daily Oklahoman. You can put it in your town's paper. That's fine. It just has to be in the advertisement has to be in a newspaper. Again, you have to allow for free and open competition in accordance with our regulations, which is 2 CFR Part 200. And if you're not for sure, like we will walk you through the process of what you have to do. But if you do want more information about procurement, we're going to do a procurement process training at the beginning of February, and we'll put more out about that as well. Now, there does need to be transparency. So you must not restrict or eliminate any competition. So that is the number one thing with procurement, is it has to be full and open competition. You cannot place unreasonable requirements. So in your addendums, if you send those in, it can't be too restrictive. You do need to make it to where multiple people can bid on that. You can't require unnecessary experience or excessive bonding. You cannot have conflicts of interest or any arbitrary action in the process. When conducting a procurement, the district must ensure compliance with Buy American. So do make sure that this is happening. I mean, I know everybody's doing their best, but Buy American is the purchase of domestic foods. It is required for all agricultural commodity purchasing for the school lunch program. Now, this is kind of talking about the RFP. There were a couple of changes. So maybe you have filled out the RFP in previous years, but we did make a couple of changes last year. And the reason for these changes is because we got written up from USDA. So trust me, we don't always make changes because we love making changes because we like more work. It's because of either because we had to by state auditors or usually by USDA. So some clarifications. Direct billing. So again, when you're charged, everything that you're charged for is a price per plate, a price per meal. You cannot be direct billed for anything. So like, hey, we're taking some labor from you, so we're going to charge you an additional $10,000. Or like anything like that, you cannot be directly billed for anything. It has to be in your price per meal. This includes labor and such as cell phones or travel. It has to be in the fixed price per meal rate. It cannot be directly billed. Food service management companies are required to break down their projected expenditures by category, which would be the basis of the fixed price. That is in the RFP. So in the RFP, it does now have a page in there that the food service management company has to fill out with expenditures, and that was new of last year. So you have to indicate which sites the district is possibly wanting a salad bar. So this was really never in the RFP before. So we tried to make things to make it more clear for when people are bidding on the RFP. If so, you list your sites, every site that you have at your district. And then on that, you tell them like when your lunchtime is, what programs that you're doing at that site. And if you want a salad bar at that site, mark it. Now, I will again say you may mark it and then later you decide you don't want one. That's okay. You can do that too. But if you mark it, it just lets them know that you can, or because some people, they want to give you the best, again, they want to give you the best price. And it's all that you might realize is that, you know, salad bars are expensive. So if you don't want a salad bar at maybe you have 5 sites and you only want a salad bar at 1 or 2 of those sites, it could lower the price that they're giving you, because if you want your salad bar at all 5 sites, then the price might be more because salad bars are expensive. And yes, it is by eating site. So I think it's by eating site. I'm kind of, well, when you list it, I believe you do it by, I'll let Karen and Becky answer that. I'm confusing myself right now. So labor, we have on there, we have worksheets in the RFP 1-B and 2-B. When staff go to food service management company, so the school district is saying like, hey, we have these employees and they're going to go to food service management company. In the past, the food service management company have not been filling these pages out. It is required. We got written up for this. So if the food service management company, when they send it back to you, pages 1B and 2B have to be filled out. If the district will have both SFA and food service management company employees, so let's say that you are currently with the food service management company and you want some of your employees to be food service management company, or you have some to be SFA, or what we see a lot of times, it's like all our employees are the school employees. But when somebody leaves, then when we rehire, they will now be under a food service management company. So what we would do then is say you in the past that you would need to have an addendum allowing if you want a food service management company to charge you for that. So it is in the food service management company. So if you want a food service management company to charge you for that, being like, yeah, we'll go ahead and give. So, because what happens is maybe you have 5 employees and you said, if any of these employees leave, then the food service management company has to take over. Well, maybe no one leaves. So they're really never going to pay this extra price. But maybe it's like, yeah, it's okay. And maybe the first year you have 2 that leave, and maybe it's like, hey, we'll do 10 cents per meal if an employee leaves that the food service management company can pay us on, which I'm going to talk more about this here in a little bit. It is allowable, but it's only if you can allow them to give you a transition plan in the RFP, but it doesn't mean you have to agree to it. Like, you can be like, no, if my employees leave, you're not going to charge me extra for that. So that is the school's choice. The school has complete choice. We've had a lot of people that have asked to see the transition plan and allow a transition plan, but just because you allow one, you want to look at one, does not mean you have to do it. The school, again, is in complete control. They're in charge. It's like, no, I just want this price. But maybe it's like, hey, you might get a better price, and maybe it's 10 cents per meal per employee that leaves. So just something for you to think about. But I will show you more about that and talk more about that here in just a moment. Now, when you are filling out the RFP, this is something for this year. So last year when we had you fill out the RFP, if you did it last year, you had to fill out expenditures for 2018, 2019 before COVID. And then you had to fill out last year's information, which was SSO, because we were trying to find the best way of what your school kind of looked like when you were doing normal school, because we understand when you're SSO, everybody was eating free. So maybe your participation was way higher than normal. So this year, we're going by what we would normally do, and you have to fill out for last year, for last school year, which was SSO, which would be 2021, 2022. Right now, that's the last, if you're filling out the RFP right now, it's the last full school year that was completed. We understand that's SSO, but we feel also to get a better understanding of what you're currently doing, give the information that you have for right now. So if you're filling out the RFP, if you already have a copy of the RFP, Karen's going to be sending you out 3 pages. It's the revenue, federal reimbursement, and expenditures, and it's for this current year. And what you'll do is you'll fill out what you have. So if you're filling it out right now, it says August, and you can put January. So it lets them know the time frame of what they're working with on your number wise. But we figure 2018, 2019 is too far. So much has changed between them, even though that's the last time you were counting and claiming that the year has completed. We just don't feel your numbers would be a reflection at all of what's happening this year. So fill out, it says the past year that you have. So that would be 21, 22. And then you're going to fill out what you currently have done thus far this year. So it just gives them a better idea about your participation and how much expenditures you're getting right now and your revenue right now, so they can give you the best price for next year. I know it's kind of confusing saying that, but we just think that the way we did it last year at the time was great. That's what we needed to do. But 2018, 2019 was a long time ago. And I know the last time you went counting and claiming and this year going counting and claiming has been 2 probably different worlds. Okay, this transition plan. So in the RFP, again, it does allow you to have a transition plan. So again, if maybe you're stating that if the employees leave, that's the most common one that we see. If an employee leaves and goes food service management company, then they can charge you a price per meal per employee. So the price, it has to be agreed upon. Again, you do not have to allow for that. But if you do want that, you can have the transaction plan. So one thing that you need to do is agree on the price. A lot of times I've seen like 10 cents, 11 cents, depending on your school district, but always put pen to paper. Again, that's the biggest thing I can do. If they come back and say, hey, charge us 50 cents, we're talking 50 cents per plate. So however many meals that you have per month that you serve for the entire district, it's not just that site, it's for the entire district. That's what you'd be being charged for labor. So if you want the transition plan, which a lot of you do that, that's fine. So in the past, you had to do an addendum and put it in there like, we will accept a transition plan, but this time it is now in the RFP. So that way we tried to make everything in there so you're not having to send so many addendums. So if you do the transition plan, and this district accepts it, we have to have a copy of what the terms that you guys have, like the amount that is going to be paid, before you do board approval. So let's say that you say yes to the transition plan and you guys agree that it's going to be 10 cents per employee that leaves. We need a copy of that. So once you fill out the RFP, we tell you when you can send it out. And then once you get it back and you look at all the information and you decide who you're going to go with, you have to send it back to us and we approve it. So when you send it back to us and we approve that, we need to have that transition plan in there at that time. And then after we approve that, then we're going to tell you you can go ahead and let your board sign that. So that's kind of how the whole process works. There's a lot of approval from our office. Now, when you do the transition plan and say you do have an employee that leaves, every time an employee leaves and another employee is added and it's now going to be paid for by the food service management company, we have a form that has to be filled out and sent to our office. And I'm going to show you this form. Let me pull it up for you. This is it right here. We have this in the resource. I'm sorry, I keep on saying resource library. We have this in other documents under food service management company. So this is what the form looks like. You can use this one form for the full 5-year contract or however long that you're using them. So you'll have your district name and the code. And I'm trying to see, let me see if this one's the example. I think this is the example. Yes, so here's the example. So Green Public School, this is the date the contract started. So you could do it if you're filling out the contract right now, whenever it's approved, you can put that date here and you'll use this for the entire contract. So Johnny Smith left the district and here's the date. And then Kendra Green came in, took his place. And then this is the date that she started. So they can't start charging you until they're paying for that employee. And then this is the fixed price rate. This is the price that you've already told us that's on your transition plan. And then again, so you'll fill this out for the full 5 years. So maybe you don't have anybody that leaves this entire year, but then 2 people leave next year, then you'll fill this out. But you can still use this one form for your 5 years or up until you use a different company. And then at the end, at the bottom, it tells you how much they could be charging you. The reason this form is very important is because we do procurement reviews. And this is one reason we do procurement reviews and we do have that contracted out. But not just that, but me as an employee, like I'm looking at your contract and I'm looking at the contract and I'm looking what you're being billed and the amounts don't match. So I have to figure out why you're being overbilled. But if we have this form, it says, hey, this is the price per meal, but I'm allowed to add 14 cents because they have 2 employees that they took over. I can add 14 cents to the price per meal. And so that way we understand that you're being billed correctly. Now, we've had some people send us this form and they're not approved to do the transition plan. It has to be in your original contract. If it's not in your original contract, you cannot do it. They cannot charge you. If they're charging you and it's not approved, then they need to pay you back for what you paid for them because you can't pay them that's something that's not allowable. Okay, so you send out the RFP. Now you're getting your RFP back from your food service management companies. What do? So you receive all the proposals. You open it on the deadline that you tell us that's in the contract. You cannot, in your RFP, it states when to open it, when you're going to be doing this, and in your advertisement. You have to do independent proposals. So in the RFP, you tell us, and we'll go through the RFP in February, you tell us what you're bidding them on. And price has to be the top choice, like the top number of points. But you have to evaluate every single RFP that you get in. The RFP that receives the highest points from your independent team, from the team that you have to analyze it, then that is who you use. This is an example of how to evaluate the bids. I don't know if I'm trying to remember if we have a form like this that you can use, but you do need to take the evaluation that you have in the RFP, how many points they are supposed to give, and you have to give each food service management company points. That's how you evaluate it. You're telling us in your RFP how you do evaluate it. Now, some of you only get back one bid, and that we understand that happens. So if you just get the one bid, you don't necessarily have to do the evaluation because you only got one bid back. But if you get multiple bids back, you do need to do the evaluation where you're scoring them. And again, whoever gets the highest points by the way that you said that you're going to score each individual item, then that's who gets the bid. So what is unallowable? So what is unallowable is when you're trying to figure out who you're going to use, you can't have someone that you can't have a food service management company access to the sealed bid information before the bids are open. You can't have somebody from a food service management company disclosing the contents of or anybody from the school, even a school district employee cannot disclose the contents of a proposal submitted by others to a potential supplier before the supplier submits the offer. And you cannot accept food service management company proposals after all bids are publicly read. So whatever date it states in your RFP, like this is our bid opening date, if you receive any RFPs after that, you cannot accept them. If you have any other situations that might come up or might happen, contact our office and let us walk you through that. Again, I know certain situations happen everywhere, but if you come across any of these situations, contact us and we will talk to you about that. We've had some people that they did get something after the fact, but it's the only one that they only had one company that actually sent a bid back. We've had some situations where people had to go out on rebid because nobody sent back. So if you have any issues, just again, talk to us and we will help you out with whatever I'm telling you is the rules. But again, we know that things happen in life. Contact us and we will walk you through the process. You are allowed to negotiate. So when you get the RFPs, in your RFP that you fill out, it asks you if you're going to negotiate yes or no. If you state yes, that you can negotiate, and it tells you how many people you're going to negotiate with. We've seen some people say, hey, we're only going to negotiate with one food service management company. Some say that they're going to negotiate with 2 or 3. So you are allowed to negotiate. So once you get the bids back, you are allowed to negotiate. Parts of the RFP you can negotiate. Negotiate proposed contract terms and then select the proposal that best meets the price and other criteria. So again, but in the RFP, if you mark no on negotiations, you cannot negotiate. It's just that you get the RFP, whatever the RFP states, that's it. So again, just make sure, we would always tell you mark yes to negotiate, just so if you want the ability to, you are allowed to. And then after you negotiate, then you would notify the awardee. But again, you have to send that to our office and then we would approve the final RFP. So you award the contract. So again, you submit the required contract for review to us, and you have to include your transition plan in there. If any employees are going with the food service management company, correct, revise, submit as needed. So again, that transition plan, every time you have an employee that leaves or comes on, we have to have a copy of the transition plan, not just once a year. It's anytime an employee, if you're going to do a transition plan, because a lot of you change your billing at that time. So if you're changing how you're billing, we have to know at that time why you're billing them what you are. And usually the transition plan is going to have the amount on there to show us why you're charging them what you're charging them. So once we say yes, the RFP is approved, then you go to your board and have them sign it. Once the board signs the RFP, you have 10 days to send that back to us. Because we have seen that a lot. People will go have it signed and they will not send the signature pages back to us. We have to have it back within 10 days. And we need 2 copies. Now, if the food service management company is already doing stuff and we don't have the contract, we don't have the pages signed, you cannot pay that with child nutrition funds. You'll have to pay that with general fund. So any violation of free and open competition will make the proposal non-responsive. If the contract was already awarded and then the SFA, you have to rebid. And I have seen this happen before, where let's say you award the contract and then you're like, oh, never mind, I want to go with somebody else. Then you have to go out and rebid. If the violation occurred before the award of the contract, the food service management company will just consider that RFP that they sent back ineligible. So it's okay if it happens before, just you can't count that RFP, you can't look at that food service management company. You would just look at the ones that did send you something back. Now, once again, you award it, the school district signs and submits paper copies of base contract checklists, non-delegable duties, and the independent price determination form. And these are all in the RFP. And again, we give you steps of how to fill out the RFP. We walk you through the entire process. So I know if for our newbies, it sounds a little intimidating, but we will walk you through the entire process. But it's just not a quick process, so just don't expect a quick turnaround. The district also submits paper copies of the debarment form, lobbying certification, and lobbying activities that are signed by the food service management company. So here are some other federal requirements. In order to use your child nutrition funds to pay for the food service management company, the district must have a proper contract and follow proper procurement procedures. And the district must have contract reviewed, approved by us before you have signed with the food service management company. So again, you have to make sure we have to approve everything. A food service management company may not be paid using funds from nonprofit food service account prior to receiving final approval from our office. So if you start using them and you do not have approval from us, you have to pay it with a general fund. You cannot pay it with child nutrition funds. And there's a lot of times, I will tell you more often than not, and Karen and Becky will tell you, when we're looking at the RFP and we're looking at your dates, a lot of times we make you change those dates because there's not enough time. So make sure the dates, and we will make it far out. You'd rather have it. So if your school starts August 15th, maybe you want them in there a week or two before, then have the contract start on August 1. But make sure you're giving plenty of time for the RFP process. So no contract may be executed by any party without prior written approval from the state agency. And again, money from the nonprofit food service account must not be used to pay the food service management company until the contract is approved. And we just kind of keep harping on that because we just need you to make sure that you have to follow our steps. And if you don't do that, you cannot use child nutrition funds. So the partnership, all documents and contracts say they come to our office. The school or the district and the food service management company, you're a partnership. So again, the school at no time can, again, the school relinquish control of any part of the food service management company. You're a partnership now. It's not your food service management company, you just do it all. That's not how it works. When we come out to do a review, we are working with the school district. That is who our agreement is with. Anytime we need documentation, we get it from the school district. So we go through the school district. If you're a food service management company, we do not go to them. It is not their responsibility. It is your responsibility. So make sure that you are doing all the proper procedures. So once you are using the food service management company, there are certain annual requirements. So all food service management companies run from whatever start date is until June 30th of every year. It is the responsibility of the school to monitor the contract to ensure the contract is being followed. At least one time a year, the school has to fill out the food service management company school monitoring page. We have a monitoring form that you have to use at least one time per year. All contracts and renewals must be reviewed and approved by the state agency before you can execute the contract or the renewal. The renewal every year is the same time. We have to have your renewal documentation by June 1st. That's kind of a newer rule, but we have to have some process due. But if you're going to renew with the food service management company, we have to have your form saying, yes, we're renewing. This is the price. We have to have that form by June 1st of every year. And again, all contracts and renewals are for 1 year, but you have up to 4 renewals. Some other annual requirements is all contracts may be renewed, again, via an addendum for a maximum of 4 renewals. Again, it's a total of 5 years, but you can rebid before that. You can get off using a food service management company before that if you choose. You're not locked. Some people thought that they're locked into a contract for 5 years, and that's not the case. The renewal addendum must be on district letterhead, and you can only use the CPI index for annual price increase or decreases. We have seen some decreases over the last couple of years. You do not have to change the price. This is agreed upon between the food service management company and the school. So you can be like, no, we're going to pay the same price we did last year. You can negotiate the price. It cannot go above or below the CPI index, which we check that. That's one thing we have to check to make sure you're not getting overcharged by that CPI index. And then again, you can state, no, there's no change in rate. You can do that as well. And then again, you can always choose not to renew if you do not want to. That is fine. Okay, so this is something that we talked about yesterday in the office because we've had some issues with this, and when it comes to the addendums. An addendum can be sent in with the original RFP. So we've had a lot of times people send in the RFP to be approved from us, and they have an addendum attached to it about extra things that they want. That's fine. Then you go, we approved it, then you go out for bid. That's fine. We are having a lot of issues with is, so you fill out the contract, we approve it, you go out for bid. You choose who you're going to use, and then you send it back to us, and we say, okay, yep, that's good. We approve all this. Now go, your board can sign it. What's happening is when your board's signing it and you're sending the final to us, like just the signature pages, there's addendums getting thrown in there. You cannot do that. If you want to do that, if you at the end be like, hey, we're going to throw this addendum in there, you cannot send it with signature pages. It has to be on its own because we already approved the contract. That's after the contract was approved. So a lot of people are sticking stuff in there and we're not seeing it because it was just thrown in there, because we do go through every single page, but it's getting thrown in after we've already approved it. So it's after the approval process. So if the board signs it and you decide you want another addendum, you need to send it to us separately, because do not stick it in with the original RFP. That RFP was already approved. So this is a separate document now. So if you have any addendums that are not with the original RFP, you need to send it to our office separately. We are going to look at each one of those. And so our new process is when you send us one of those addendums that's not a part of the original RFP, we're going to approve it or deny it. And we're going to stamp it and send it to you. And you need to keep that for your records. If you don't if you don't hear anything from us regarding this addendum, then that means it's not approved. Because we're finding stuff like there's a lot of stuff that gets placed in there after we've already approved things. So now we decided that if you need an addendum, you can send an addendum at any time. But we have to have our stamp of approval or denied. We will let you know either way and keep it in your files. And if you don't get something back from us, then that means it's not approved or we didn't see it. So contact us again, but we will let you know that we saw it and if you can do that or not, because some of the things that have been kind of snuck in there are complete changes to the RFP that are not allowable. That's why we would deny it. You cannot change the RFP. You can't be like, well, we deleted line 4 of page 67 and we're adding this phrase instead. You can't do that. So we would have to deny that. We approve what we can. It's solely based off of this and what is allowable. So if we deny something, it's because it's not allowable. Again, on the transition plan, if the transition plan is not approved by OSDE and if the food service management company transition labor form is not sent into us, you can't use child nutrition funds. Again, we've had some people send the form into us, but it's not even approved, but they weren't even charging the district, which they shouldn't be. But if it's not in your original RFP, meaning we approved that, you cannot be charging the district, and that is an unallowable charge if you are charging the district and it's not in the RFP. So, and again, we have to have that form anytime that there are employee changes, because if it changes the price of what you're being billed, we have to know that. Because again, there's several times, like even myself, I helped do procurement reviews and I was writing schools up for being overbilled. And I was like, you need to get this money back. But they really weren't being overbilled because it was in the RFP. We're just ensuring that you guys are getting charged correctly. Okay, responsibilities. This is now the fun part. So now you have a contract, you're using a food service management company, and what are the responsibilities? So we're going to go over the school responsibilities. So one is you have to monitor, again, you must monitor the food service operation through periodic on-site reviews at least one time per year. And we have a form, and that form is actually in the RFP that you will use. We have the form also located in other documents under the food service management company section. You review and approve menus each month. The school dictates what is being served at the school. If you have some meals that the kids just don't like, I would definitely have the menus changed. You keep your meal count records and meal patterns or anything else that you still need to be monitoring to make sure that things are still being operated in the way they should be being on our program. That is the school's responsibility to make sure that the program is in compliance with child nutrition rules and regulations. And this here is just an example of the form. Again, we do have this in the food service management company section in other documents. Now, that form that I just showed you, that is what the school does to make sure the food service management company is in compliance. Now we have another form called the lunch breakfast on-site review form. So if you are multi-sited, if you have more than one eating site, it is required that this form be done every year as well. So don't get confused between the two. The last one is the school checking on the food service management company, but the breakfast and lunch on-site review form, they do have to also be done by the school district. They should not be done by the food service management company. So not only do you have these to do if you're multi-sited, but you have to have an additional review on the food service management company. And we do ask to see these during a procurement review. And there's a lot of you I've been very proud of. I looked at them, and if you see something wrong, write it down, what they're doing wrong. Because I've seen a lot of times when they were writing up the food service management company for something and they have to correct it. So that's what this is for, is to make sure that they're in compliance, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe they're not doing something that you agreed upon in the RFP. You should be making sure it is with any contract. It doesn't matter if you're using a food service management company or if you're using a vendor, Beneke, Cisco, US Foods, any contract that you have in place, whoever you have that contract with, you should always be monitoring that to make sure the contract is being followed. That's just proper procurement, is following any contract and making sure that that contract is being followed correctly. A lot of people get mad and they get really upset with vendors or anybody they have a contract with because they're not doing what they're supposed to. I'm like, well, are you writing them up? Are you saying something to them? Because it is one of your responsibilities is to manage the contract. Something else that the school is responsible for is utilizing USDA foods. Establish all meal and a la carte prices. That's the school's responsibility. Review edit checks. You really should be giving those edit checks to the food service management company. That's how they bill you. So you still need to be looking at your edit checks. Develop the food service budget and review monthly profit and loss statements and support documentation. You really should see where you're at with using a food service management company. What some people get a little confused about is the fixed, so it's a fixed price. And let's just say that you have a food service management company says, I'm gonna charge you $3 a meal. And you're like, wow, that's a great rate because we're getting this much reimbursement for free. That $3 rate is for every single meal served. It doesn't matter if it's a free kid, a reduced kid, or a paid child. Sometimes people forget that. They think that they're only being charged for the free kids and you're being charged for every meal that was served. So just keep stuff like that in mind. If you have a lot of paid kids, really look at the finances of that. People don't really think about that whenever they are wanting to go contract. It is also the school's responsibility to create the procurement procedures, have their procurement plan. And again, you are in charge when we do a procurement review. Conduct direct certification. The school has to conduct verification. You have to obtain the homeless, runaway, and migrant students from the district liaison. You have to develop the charge policy. That's the responsibility of the school. And it is up to you to pursue this student debt. If your students aren't paying, it is it's not the food service management company's responsibility to get those funds. It is the school district's responsibility. So that's why it's the food service management company's responsibility that they have to follow your charge policy. So the school also has to maintain the free and reduced eligibility information, develop and implement local wellness policy, establish the food service advisory board. This is the board I talked to you about earlier. They're the ones you have to meet at least twice a year as a best practice. This is where you talk about the menus. A lot of times we see your health and safety. We see them on it. And again, you talk about your menus or anything that you want changed, maybe you want a tasting, like have them really look at everything and see what could be better with your food service. It's also the school's responsibility for certifying claims and reimbursement, review your commodity credits, make sure you're getting credited correctly, and validate monthly invoices that you're being billed. Carrie, the answer to your question about do they charge different meal charges for breakfast and one for lunch? The answer is no, but the rate, well, so you have, when they give you a rate, let's just say it's $3. If the rate's $3, that's your lunch equivalency rate. And then when they bill you, it's the $3. And then for breakfast, you divide that by 2. That's what they can charge you for each breakfast. And then for a snack, you divide it by 3. But like that lunch equivalency rate, we have a lot of people that think, hey, if they're charging me $3 for lunch, that's just for the free kids, when they're really charging you $3 for every free, reduced, and paid child. But if you still use that lunch equivalency rate, but you divide it by 2 for breakfast, that's how much they can charge you per breakfast meal, and then divide it by 3 per snack. But we refer to it as the lunch equivalency rate. And then again, the school district's responsibility is only a district authorized representative can certify the claim. It cannot be done by a food service management company personnel. So that's everything that the school has to do. So what are some of the responsibilities of the food service management company? So their responsibility is, as provided in contract, monthly profit and loss statements. They have to give that to you every month to see where you're at financially with the profit loss. Menus, production records, portion sizes for designated menu plan options, provide and implement proper monetary collection methods, employee training, provide acceptable meal counting and accountability methods, assistance with administrative review documentation. So when we come out to do a review, we do need to have like the production records or the menus, that kind of thing, serving size amounts, provide documentation regarding nutrition content for food served. And this might be a responsibility, is to analysis of trends and participation reports, if this is something that you would like. Support services such as a dietitian or a chef, personnel management, nutrition education, promotions, and regular presentations to school boards and other groups. Again, that might be something that you want them to do. Another responsibility of the food service management company is when we come out to do a review, we have to look at your non-program foods. They are to give you a non-program food report documentation. It has to have the cost of reimbursable meals and non-program foods. This is required by USDA. The revenue, again, has to be it has to have the cost and the revenue, again, of both non-program foods, and then the cost of the reimbursable meals, and then the revenue from total revenue. So we have to have this to do the review. And this has been going on for a couple of years now. This is the lunch equivalency worksheet. This is your attachment M, which we will be going over. This is how they fill this out when they bill you. And we will be going over one. So what is not allowed? If an item is not in the RFP, and not all management companies had a chance to bid on it, it cannot be done. If the school does not have an approved addendum, it cannot be done. And direct billing, again, is not allowed. Everything charged to the district must be in the fixed price per meal rate. So again, you may have a base price, but then if you have the labor transition, anything else, it has to be added on to that price per meal. So let's talk about something called a material change. So no item can be added or replaced if it would constitute a material change to the contract. So what that means is you fill out the contract and you fill out some of the programs that you're doing now, but you do not say, maybe you're not doing CACFP at risk, maybe you're not doing the after school snack program, you're only doing, we make you do adult, a la carte, breakfast, and lunch. So maybe now you're like, hey, I want to add the after school snack program, but it's not in the original RFP. You need to contact our office because you might be able to do an addendum to have it added in. But if you do, you need to give us some of your revenue of what you think, how much you think per year you're going to make off that program. The reason why is you cannot change the contract for more than $150,000. That's called a material change. And if it would cost more than that, then you have to go out and rebid. So also would respond, the one thing too is if you had it in there, would other people bid differently on that contract? And we would define, again, a material change of $150,000. So we tell you, like, especially if you're filling out the RFP, just put everything in there that you may think about doing one day. It doesn't mean you have to be doing it, but at least it's already in the contract and it wouldn't create that material change. Like SSO. We had so many people when we went to SSO that did not have it in their contract. We're like, this is why we tell you, please just mark every program. That way it's not creating issues if something crazy happens like COVID. So what are some things that might create a possible material change? Well, one is if you add or remove a program. So again, if you're adding after school snack or the at-risk program, maybe you're adding a site. I've had that. I will tell you and this has happened. I had a school district that was in my territory and they were going out for bid and they're like, hey, we're going to build a new elementary school in 2 years within that contract. I go, put that in the RFP, like write an addendum and put in year at the time, we'll just say 2020, this public school will be adding another elementary school and how many added kids you think that would be. Sometimes it's not going to change the number of kids because you're just more distributing them better, but sometimes it could be a big material change. But if it's in the original RFP, you do not have to go out and rebid. As long as everybody that's bidding understands what's going on, that in 2 years, you're going to maybe have 200 more kids. So add that into an RFP. If you know that you're going to be building another school, adding another site, maybe you're going to be combining or leaving for another district. We've had that happen too, where maybe 2 annex. Changing from a 4-day to a 5-day a week, it could cause a material change. And then again, other things is maybe you start a provision like CEP, or again, you're adding another program. So those are some things that could do a possible material change. If you know some of these things are going to happen ahead of time. So if you're filling out the RFP right now and say, hey, in 2 years, we're going to go to a 5-day a week, put that as an addendum. That way everybody knows, okay, right now they're 4 days a week. And then in 2 years, it's going to change. Because if you know ahead of time, I know you don't always do know if this is going to happen, but if you are aware of it, make an addendum, put it in the RFP. So that way everybody bidding is aware of that this is going to happen. Again, if you add a program after the contract is approved, child nutrition funds cannot be used to pay the food service management company until amendment is sent into the state agency. So even if it's not a material change, but you still want to do it, like, so say it's just the after school snack program, you want to add that and it's not a material change, so you won't have to rebid, we still have to know. So if you do not tell us that you added this program and it's not in the RFP, you're going to have to pay that with general fund. So again, when you use an RFP, anything that you're doing, we have to be notified. So Karen will be your best friend because you have to tell her of every single change. That's one part of being on a food service management company. That's just part of it. We have to know everything. And if we don't, it could cause a possible rebid or payback. So again, plan for the next 5 years, add all the programs on the RFP. Again, we're going to talk about this when we do the walkthrough. If we agree, you just proceed. So to add a program or site, submit rationalization to us indicating why it's not a material change. So if you're going to add the after school lunch program, we need some expenditures, like how much do you think is going to happen, or how much it's going to be. And if we agree that it's not a material change, we will approve it and you can do it. If we disagree, then you would have to rebid that or just not do the program. So again, changes to the contract. So any changes must be put in writing and sent to our office for approval. So anything that is different than what the original RFP states, we have to know. So again, adding a program or not renewing with the food service management company, or even the renewal agreement. If you don't send us a renewal, then we're going to think that you went back self-op. So we have to have a copy of that renewal. If we don't, again, you cannot be paying meals with child nutrition because we do not have a renewal agreement for you. So as mentioned, if the state agency does not receive a contract renewal, so again, this renewal is due by June 1st, it is assumed that the food service management company contract was not renewed and the school went back to self-op. Child nutrition funds cannot be used to pay for the food service management company without a state agency approved renewal agreement. And as a reminder, the school remains responsible for the program operations and you cannot relinquish control to the food service management company. If the food service management company or the school add, change, or want to do anything to the contract that should be to the contract, contact our office to request making these changes, and you'll contact Karen Davis. And then any changes made to child nutrition that are not allowed or not approved, you may have to go up for rebid and or payback. So just be very mindful when using a food service management company. You can't just do whatever you want to do. Now, maybe if you have Benny Keith or Cisco, you can make changes to those contracts, but we are heavily involved with the RFP. So we have to know every single thing that's going on. And if you're doing anything different than what it states in your contract, with no addendums, it can create a lot of issues. And we have made several schools go out for rebid. And it's, as you know, it's not a fun process. It's a long process. It's not quick and easy. So again, this is things that we've seen over the years. So some things we kind of harp on. And one is the food service management company can only change the price of the contract one time per year, and that's at the renewal. And it has to be by the CPI percentage. When you can do your contract renewal, if you want to change the price, okay, Becky, make sure I'm doing the right month. We use the CPI for March or February. So once we get the CPI percentage amount, we let people know, and then we can get our renewals. But we have to have the renewal by June 1st. I just can't remember if it's February or March, or whoever knows that date, that month that we get the CPI on. So once we get that amount, you can do your renewal. And again, you do not have to accept the new price. I have seen it go down before. I've seen it go up. But if you choose that, hey, we do not want, thank you, it's March. So both of you have to agree on it. It's not just one person telling you what they're going to do. You both have to agree to it. Again, no matter the circumstances, the food service management company cannot change the price of the contract or pay the food service management company what was agreed upon other than what was sent to us. So we've seen it where there's been direct billing, not allowed. We have seen it where the price has changed and we were never notified. We've seen it where they're like, hey, they're charging us because of COVID or because of inflation after we've done the renewal, not allowed. So none of that stuff is allowed. Your price is a fixed price for 1 year. So no changes can be made to that. Unless we're told by USDA, which has never happened, and we went through some crazy stuff with COVID, it's the same price until renewal. And again, the transition plan. So during that 5-year contract, if the school and food service management company both agree, you can do this transition plan, and that's for the employees. So the food service management company transition form is required every time a food service management company charges the district for an employee. if they're going to charge you differently, so maybe they're charging you 15 cents right now, and then another employee leaves, now it's 30 cents, we have to know, because we have to make sure every time that you're getting billed correctly. So again, make sure that you send that to us, and it has to be signed by both the school and the food service management company. And I've been to schools before, and I've been told from food service management companies, they're like, hey, we didn't realize should have been charging for this employee, but we weren't. And we've heard it from schools that were like, hey, we're being charged for somebody, and they should have never been charged for it. So it's supposed to help with all the confusion for people looking at the bills, for people that are doing procurement reviews, for the food service management company, and for the school district. It's to help everybody. And again, this is what that form looks like. I showed you the example, and we did give you the example and the blank form. It is we gave it to you today in your handouts. And again, if it's not sent to us and approved by the state agency, is unallowable, and you cannot charge the district. The food service management company cannot charge. Yeah, that is correct. If you don't have a transition plan, if all the employees are already food service management company, if you don't do this, you don't have to do the plan at all. This is only for anytime the billing is changing, so we are aware of the charge. And again, we've seen people send us that form, but it's not in the original contract. So if you say, no, I do not want a transition plan at all, the school gets to decide that, not the food service management company. The school will be like, yes, we will allow to see one. No, we won't. And you can ask to see a transition plan, but that doesn't mean you have to say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go with doing this. You don't have to do that. You can see what they're proposing to you, and you can turn that down. But if you are going to do it, we have to have a copy of the transition plan. And then anytime any employees change, where it would change the price of the contract, the plate per meal, then we have to have that a plan, or if not, because we have to make sure the bill is always going to match. So now let's talk a little bit about SCA funds. Okay, so the SCA funds belong to the school. The food service management company cannot decide for a district if they want to receive these funds or not. It's up to the school, and we would tell you to take the funds. You're getting extra free money, take it. The food service management company, so what happens is if you're going to do, when you do the SCA funds, it has to be, and I'm going to show you what you can be on. It has to be Buy American, no processed foods. So whatever you're spending your money on for SCA, the food service management company must give you the district invoices for the amount of the minimally processed food that they supply the district with. It has to have numbers on there and totals. So again, this is what you're allowed to spend the money on, and they have to give you an invoice. We're seeing where some schools are paying out of SCA funds and they're not getting invoices from food service management companies. That's a big problem. You have to have invoices. So examples, so the food service management company is billing the school $25,000 this month. And then the food service management company gives the district food invoices showing the school you say $8,345 in milk for the month billed. So what you would do is the food service, since they gave you those invoices, the district can use the $8,345 of SCA funds to pay for the food service management company invoice. And then the remainder of that invoice is to be paid with child nutrition funds. So that's how it works. If you have more questions about this, I think a lot of you have gotten it down. We put this in here last year when we got the SCA funds, but you have to have invoices backing it up. But if you have more questions about this, reach our office and we can definitely help you out. Okay, so now we're at the attachment M. This is the very end part of the presentation, so we're getting very close to being done, just to give you a heads up. Thank you guys for participating. I'm seeing we have a lot of questions. Seems like a lot of good questions, so we really appreciate you being on here. We really do hope that we are answering your questions and making some clarifications. So let's talk about the attachment M. So the attachment M, there is a copy of it in the RFP. You are required to get a copy of the attachment M with your invoice. And I'm going to show you how to fill it out or how it should be filled out. A lot of times we've seen these not filled out correctly. We're also seeing a lot of other billing issues this year, and I'm going to let you know what those are. So make sure whoever is paying these bills are aware of how they're supposed to look and what they're supposed to be. So on the attachment M, we have the month, and the food service management company is going to be filling this out, but you need to make sure it's being filled out correctly. So you have in number 1 in this box, you'll have the numbers on attachment M. They have to match your edit check. You have to give them a copy of the edit check because these numbers in breakfast, lunch, and snack have to match the edit check. It cannot be different. If they're different, you need to ask why they're different. So again, we have, this is the school breakfast, natural school lunch, and then this school has 0 snacks. So again, you put the totals down here, as mentioned, total breakfast, total lunches, and total snacks. Now, as you can see here, when we talked about that rate, what you do is that you take the total breakfast and divide it by 2. So you take the 3,558, divide that by 2, and you get 1,779. Then you add all of lunch, which is the 45.95, and you get a total lunch equivalent based on meal counts. Okay, so that's the top section of attachment M. Now at the bottom section, what you cannot put at the top, you cannot put contract meals, you cannot put adult meals. These all go down here in this middle box. So we need to know the number of days that this is based on. What is the total revenue from adult meals? You put the total revenue here. So what the revenue is, what some people get, what you need to give the food, you need to give the food service management company this information. So what the adult meal revenue is let's say you have 10 teachers that eat. And let's say only 1 person paid that month, the rest of them are charging it. It is not the amount you actually received, it's the amount that you should have received from those 10 adults. That's what goes here, because it is the school's responsibility to get the funds, but they are billing you per 10 employees and whatever the rate is. The total revenue from your a la carte, so this is again just your total revenue of a la carte, and then you put the total right here. So in this box, you take your total extra child nutrition revenue that comes from this box, which is your a la carte, your adult, your catering, contract, everything comes down from here. I believe catering. Let me look back. I take that back. I'm going to make one. I'm sorry, I made one mistake. Your contract meals do go here, but they have to be in the contract section. Contract breakfast, contract lunch, and contract snacks. So if you have a Head Start, a daycare center, anybody that you do contract meals with, you do not put adult meals here. We have seen that before. You do not put adult meals here. Adult meals go down in this middle box. Okay, so once we have the total extra revenue, it comes down in this middle box. And then it says divided by the lunch rate. This rate is different than what's in your contract that they charge you per meal, your lunch equivalency rate. And it's different than it's this rate where it comes from your RFP on page 12. And that is what, so in your original, like if you're filling out the contract right now on this page 12, it is the free rate plus, is it state match and the incentive? It's everything total. That's what that rate is. So it's not, so maybe you're getting charged again, $3 per meal. And this says $3.98, which I do need to, I think, update this because of the new meal prices in our example. But this is going to be different than your lunch rate that you receive, that they said like, hey, y'all, your lunch equivalency rate is $3 per meal. This is a different rate. This is in your contract. It's when you, the year that you fill out your contract, it's page 12 is something different that the school does fill out. Now, some food service management companies will also increase this rate using the CPI. And again, you do not have to agree to that. You can keep it the same as it was in your original RFP. So again, it's the year that you filled out the RFP, whichever year that was, it's going to be the free rate, plus I believe the incentive, plus I think commodities and maybe state match. I can't remember if state match is in there or not, but that's where that rate comes from. And it's from the year that you filled it out. It's not the rate that they're charging you per meal price. It's a difference. So that's where it goes here. I don't know why, that's just what goes here. And then you divide these and you get 134.50. And then down here, you take your lunch equivalency rate, which this came from up above, this is your contract meals, your national school lunch, your school breakfast program. You drop that number down here. It's 6,374. And then you add in this lunch equivalency rate that you get right here, which is 134.50. And that gives you 65,008.51. So you take your lunch equivalencies, this total number, you move it down here, and then you multiply it by the actual bid award amount or your renewal amount, whatever that is for that year. So maybe it's 265, maybe it's 325, maybe it's 450, it's whatever the award is. Or if you're in a renewal year, it's that renewal price. And then this will give you your total amount. If you do fresh fruit and vegetable, it's down here, and it is just a cost reimbursement. But most people, from what I've seen, a lot of schools choose to do fresh fruit and vegetable on their own. But if you do choose to have the food service management company do it, then they can, that's where they'd put that down here. Now, I will tell you some of the billing issues that we're seeing is meals on attachment M are not meeting the edit check. They have to match the edit check. If they're different, you need to find out why. The attachment M and the invoice must be the same amount. We are seeing a lot of the attachment M being done correctly, but the amount on the invoice is different. They have to be the same. They can't give you the attachment M and then charge you something different. It has to be the same. So please pay attention and look out for some of this stuff. The district cannot be charged a transition fee per employee. Or you can be only if it is approved in your original RFP, as mentioned before. Your district can only be, again, billed price per meal. You cannot do any direct charges. Now, we've had some people reach out to us. Please do. If you feel that you're being billed incorrectly and you'd like us to take a look at it, let us know. We will be more than happy to do so. We've done it multiple times. We're like, hey, this doesn't look right to us. Could you give us the information? So we can definitely send it to us, call us, email us, and then we'll have you send us the information, and we will go through. We always recreate the attachment M to make sure it's correct. And then we always go look at your claim to make sure the edit, and we ask for an edit check. We check it against the claim. We check all that information to make sure that you're being billed correctly. If you need more help with the attachment M, I feel like I didn't do a great job explaining it to you. We can always, what I like to do is have you fill it out and me fill it out at the same time, and I'll show you where all the numbers go. So I'll fill one out on my end, and we'll be talking on the phone, and I'll have you fill it out on your end. So that way you see where all these numbers come from, because I'm a very visual person. So I like to see where everything comes from. So we have some upcoming stuff coming up. So if you did not make it to this training, if you have to leave early for this training, if you have other people that need to attend this training other than yourself, we will put this, we'll put the link in other documents, but we will put this in OSDE Connect. Please give us till next week. Again, we have to go through certain people. We have to get a certain video, then Sherry is fantastic. She'll put this in OSDE Connect, and then once we do, somebody else has to make it go live. So it's just a big step process. And then on February 8th, we're going to be having the Food Service Management Company RFP walkthrough and Q&A. So school districts are the only ones allowed to attend this. We are not allowing any food service management companies to attend, because schools should be contacting us directly, and we want you to feel comfortable asking us questions. And so this is only allowed for school employees. It is not allowed for food service management company employees. So we already have the link. It is out in other documents. We have Zoom links for February posted in there, so you can go out there to sign up for that class. Maybe you're in the process of filling it out. We really highly recommend, even if you've been doing the RFP for several years. I think, me personally, I think Becky and Karen will agree to this. After we look at the RFPs and we look at them when you send them to us, there's a process that we have to do for every RFP that's sent in. I think sometimes you guys would fill it out differently if you really understood some of the language or some of the information in there. So that's what we're going to be here for. We're going to walk through each section. We'll give you, we will not give you the RFP. You have to ask Karen for it, but we will give you the instructions and we will walk through it. And hopefully it will be beneficial to the district to help us walk you through that. So we are done for today. Thank you guys so much for being with me. Karen and Becky, especially Jennifer, you guys really deal with procurement and RFP. If there's anything that you would like to add, please do. We're going to stick around for questions if you have any. And again, don't forget about that RFP walkthrough. We're going to go through an RFP and help fill it out and answer those questions. So make sure you sign up for that. We did not do that last year. This will be a first time that we're doing this. We just think it might make your process go much better and it on our end as well. So thank you guys again. And again, if any of you guys have anything to say on from the state agency side, please do. Or if there's anything I need to clarify. But you guys have a wonderful, safe, warm day.